Many of us are concerned that the world is teetering on the edge of a new global war. With personal and government debts at an all-time high, the sheer number of nuclear weapons, political division, and the potential of a global financial crash. So what would be the real impact of a new world war? Would conflict engulf the entire planet and change the course of human history forever? Or are these just idle fears? I don't know what weapons World War III will be fought with, but World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones. This is the story of World War III, as we discover the catastrophic financial and human costs it would cause. Let us know in the comments and give us your predictions of what you think may happen. Subscribe to support the channel if you want to see more videos like this. With the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war, along with rising tensions between world superpowers such as China and the USA, many believe that we're heading towards another Great World War. But can we use the knowledge of how a modern war may be fought, as well as the knowledge of the financial impact of previous wars, to predict the total cost of World War III? Let's start by looking at World War II, which was one of the most devastating and costly wars in history. The financial cost of the war has been estimated to be around $4 trillion in today's money, with the United States spending roughly $1.2 trillion alone. The human cost was also a staggering figure, with an estimated 70 to 85 million people losing their lives. That's more than the entire population of the United Kingdom. The next most costly war, the Iraq War, cost around $2.4 trillion. The human cost was less than that of World War II, but still very significant, with the most conservative estimates saying around 200 to 500,000 people lost their lives.
In the first month of the war, about 7,000 civilians were killed by all means by the U.S. coalition, more than 2,000 of them killed by airstrikes. And this was part of what was called then the shock and awe strategy.
A mission to topple Saddam Hussein's dictatorship and to find those weapons of mass destruction. But no stockpiles of nuclear or chemical or biological weapons were ever found.
The third most expensive war in modern history was the Vietnam War, with the cost estimated around $900 billion in today's money, and the shocking human cost at an estimated 1.5 to 3.5 million people losing their lives. In terms of financial destruction, how would World War III compare to these? First, we have to look at the impact a conflict of such magnitude would have on the global economy. According to a report by the Congressional Research Service, cost, a non-nuclear World War III would cost around $13.6 trillion to the global economy. That's more than 6 times the cost of the Iraq and Afghanistan wars combined. The major factor leading to this loss would be the widespread damage to the global national infrastructure, as the world economies would grind to a halt due to countries diverting the majority of their resources to the war effort. This is all taking for granted that the war does not go nuclear. What if nuclear weapons were used? How would this change the financial, let alone human outcome? Nuclear weapons not only ramp up the potential total of fatalities, but also the financial cost of a World War III. The cost of using nuclear weapons would be astronomical. According to the Federation of American Scientists, the world's nuclear powers have an estimated combined stockpile of 13,000 nuclear weapons, making it frightfully likely that a nuclear option may be used in the next World War. A single nuclear warhead has the power to devastate an entire city. The destruction caused by multiple warheads would be unimaginable. For example, a study by the RAND Corporation estimated that the cost of a limited nuclear war between India and Pakistan would cost around $2.2 trillion. Magnifying this to nuclear war across the entire globe would take this figure to well over 100 trillion, which would likely bankrupt many countries. if not the entire global financial system. The use of nuclear weapons have a long-lasting effect on the environment too. The fallout and radiation would contaminate the air, the water, the soil, making many areas uninhabitable for years or even decades. The cost of cleaning up and rebuilding would be immense. According to a report by the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists, a global nuclear war would result in the total collapse of the world's economy. The report estimates that the global GDP would decline by 20 to 50% in the first year after the war, a staggering $20 to $50 trillion in just 1 year alone, and it would take decades for the world's economies to recover, if they ever recovered at all. The cost of the use of nuclear weapons would be felt for generations on both a financial and a human level. The RAND Corporation reports that World War III would result in an estimated 50 to 80 million deaths, a shocking figure, and it's hard to even imagine the impact it would have on the environment. Families would be torn apart, and the world as we know it would be forever changed. The psychological toll on survivors would be immense, and the scars of the conflict would linger for generations. The impact on the global economy would also surely lead to civil unrest and political instability across the planet. Many would be left angry and frustrated and take to the streets to demand change. Governments would struggle to maintain order, and the world would be an extremely chaotic environment to survive in. If the war went nuclear, we only have to look at the lasting effects of the nuclear disaster at Chernobyl to see that the radiation, which now contaminates the air, would leave planet Earth a radically different and dangerous place to live. The loss of life and the destruction of cities and infrastructure would be devastating. The world would be left to mourn and rebuild, and the cost of doing so is ultimately incalculable. There's no doubt that all sides in this escalating conflict are using espionage.
The name's Bond. James Bond.
Misinformation and deceit to confuse their opponents. Here's an intriguing example from World War II. In 1943, Royal Navy Lieutenant Commander Ewan Montagu devised a scheme to deceive the Nazis about the invasion of southern Europe. The plan was to release a corpse with a fictional identity off the coast of Spain. The current would carry it to shore near where a known German agent operated. The non-existent Royal Marine courier, Major William Martin, would appear to be a plane crash victim, carrying documents about an upcoming Allied invasion of German-occupied Greece, rather than Sicily, the more obvious target. Overcoming the reluctance of high officers, Montagu received Winston Churchill's approval to execute his plan, known as Operation Mincemeat. Following a medical expert's advice, Montagu obtains the permission of a deceased father and procures the body of a man who died of pneumonia, which would give the appearance he had drowned. The corpse was placed in a canister packed with dry ice and transferred to a waiting submarine. The body was released off the Atlantic coast of Spain and washed ashore as intended. Local authorities, observed by German and British consulate staff, identified the body and conducted an autopsy. After the attaché case containing the deceptive documents is returned to London, a forensics expert confirmed that the key letter, which describes an Allied invasion of Greece, was cleverly opened, photographed and resealed by the Germans. Hitler was convinced the documents were genuine. The Germans then transferred most of their Sicily-based forces to Greece, which helped the Allied invasion of Sicily succeed.
Sicily, the morning of July 10th, 1943. The Allies were attacking, with 180,000 assembled, but the Axis was waiting, with over 400,000 men. And so, as Patton and Montgomery led their armies ashore, there were questions that could only be answered on the battlefield.
What similar intrigue and war games are happening today? We can only guess. Interestingly, technology has progressed a lot since then. Would cyber attacks play a part, and could similar misinformation be spread by allowing a cyber attack to occur, knowing full well your opponent is hacking fake planted information? Maybe it's already happening. The financial and the humanitarian cost of World War III would clearly be catastrophic beyond measure. The loss of life, destruction of infrastructure, and global economic collapse would be felt for generations to come, reminding us of the imperative that we should indeed prioritize peace and not war and encourage diplomacy in our international relations. If you like this video, please subscribe to support the channel and check out our other videos like this one.